I'm going to quickly walk you through how to find a percentile using the normal distribution. So suppose we have some scores on a standardized test that are approximately normally distributed. The mean is 127 and the standard deviation is 22. Let's find the 80th percentile. So for that, I'm going to open up StatCrunch super fast. And there's StatCrunch. I'm going to click the Open StatCrunch button. Okay, so I'm here now. So now I'm going to go to Stat and then down to Calculator and go here to Normal. And there's my normal curve. And so let's recall what a percentile is. So right now, this is at 0.5. So this is the 50th percentile here. That means half the data is on the left, half's on the right. So that separates it. 80th percentile is going to be over here somewhere, and it's going to separate the lower 80% from the upper 20%. So I'm going to change this 0.5 to a 0.8 and hit compute. So there we go. There's my z-score to 4 decimal places. 8416. I can remember that. 8416. 8416. 8416. There it is. So there's the z-score. Now, if you recall, we have this formula. And what is that? This is how to find a z-score if you're given some data value. That's the x. Let me highlight things. Ooh, there we go. So that x is the data value. Mu is the mean, and sigma here is the standard deviation, and this formula gives you a z-score. Well, let me paste this again. So here's this formula again. Let's replace what we already know. I know that z, the z-score I want for the 80th percentile, is 0.8416. I also know that my mean is 127 and my standard deviation is 22. So now to find what test score is the 80 or separates is in the 80th percentile, I just need to solve this algebraically. So that tells me that x equals 0.84, let me do multiplication here, 22 times this number. So 22 times 0.8416 plus 127. That'll give me the appropriate test score. So popping this on a calculator gives you about 145.5152. You know what, let me format this nicely real quick. Bear with me, I should have done this in the first place. There we go. So that's approximately 145.5. That's the test score. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the 80th percentile is equal to 145.5. So a score, this amount would put you in the 80th percentile. So let's go back to StatCrunch and look at the normal distribution so we can see this visually. So that means if you're scoring that score, you are scoring better than 80% of other test takers, but you're scoring worse than 20% of other test takers, because this is a measure of relative standing. So this tells you where a score of 145.5 stands amongst the total number of all the test takers. So that was a slow way to do it. Let's do it a slightly faster way without having to use this conversion formula, because I think this was really heavier used before we had all these neat tools and calculators. So remember, we have a mean of 127 and a standard deviation of 22. So back in StatCrunch, I can change this to 127 and 22. And let me erase that. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There. And I want the 80th percentile. Now I'm going to go compute, and there it is. So look at this. This is beautiful. Now I can see the test scores laid out. I can see that someone with this score is right here, and here's 80% of test takers below that score and 20% of test takers above that score. I could even find out where the halfway point is. So here we go, 127. That's what again? That's the mean. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. Let's see, do we want the quarter point? There we go, that's a 25th percentile. Here's the 75th percentile. So personally, I find this a lot easier. You could also do this with GeoGebra super quick. Oh, I was already playing around with GeoGebra. So let me get this into the proper viewing window. Okay, so let's go right here. So if I change this to 0.8, and that's on the wrong direction, there we go, so 0.8. There it is. It's the same z-score we wanted originally, but now I can change this to 127, which is kind of that center point, that peak, and my standard deviation to 22, and I can, look, I'm going to find that center point again, which we know should be exactly 127, and there it is. And if I want to find that 80th percentile score, here it is again, 145.5. So there's a ton of different technologies you can use, and they'll all give you the same idea, is the fact that when you find this percentile, what you're really looking for is 80% of the area under the normal curve on the left and 20% of it on the right. I hope this rambly video was helpful.